Okay, we are going to do some reviews for Wuthering Heights. Let me make sure I'm doing this at the last possible minute. I'm connecting my audio device here, making sure it's connected. Okay. Wuthering Heights. I don't really like the title. I don't understand it. I didn't read the book. No, it's not connected. I didn't read the book, but the movie is pretty. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. I'm not connected. I'm sorry. I thought I was, but I'm not. It's a bit of a problem. Anyway, so Wuthering Heights. What is it about? It's basically a love story. It's essentially the guy. He's played by Jacob Elordi. He's in love with Margot Robbie's character. Margot Robbie's character. She is Margot Robbie plays Catherine. There was actually a PBS two-part miniseries, I guess, where the actors or I forget his name. Tom Hardy and somebody else, but that's the PBS series. This new movie with Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie, they're brilliant. It's funny. There's several times when the audience laughed. I laughed, even moments I didn't understand, and just there's a lot of sexual tension. It's rated R for a reason, but there is just some moments you're kind of confused. I think it's mostly meant for the fans, for the people who have read the book. I have not read the book. I'm trying to find out what's wrong with my audio and why it's not connecting. That's why I'm doing this. Now it is connected. What the fuck? What's going on? Anyway, so yeah, it's. I have not read the book, and because I haven't read the book, I couldn't tell you what it's about. Oh, I mean, I know it's a love story, but this is my introduction to it. So I wanna get into some playlists for Wuthering Heights. I can't tell you much about it, other than what I just told you. And I guess before I ruin this, let me get into the live stream and start it.
91% male demographic. As someone with a 91% male demographics, might be a bit of a weird review for you, but I'm here to bring some literature to this sausage fest. Or at the very least, let you know what you're about to get dragged to this Valentine's Day when you let her pick the movie. But, alright, let's do it! So Wuthering Heights is directed by Emerald Fennell. It's based on literary work, novel of the same name. Takes place in the 1700s, I believe it is, in which Margot Robbie plays Catherine.
1800s, I think.
Jacob Elordi plays a guy named Heathcliff. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't help but think of the cat. Anyhow, they met when they were kids. Her dad's like, I'll take him in. He'll live with us. He's loved her ever since they were kids. She loves him, doesn't want to admit it. At a point where...
That's why, yeah, they were childhood friends, and they've loved each other for a very long time. That's what gets in the story. They're childhood friends. They're best friends, in fact. Best friends, the bestest of friends. They love each other in more ways than just a typical love story. They actually love each other to the point where they love each other to death, but anyway, it's kind of like a forbidden love. Not exactly a forbidden love, but things happen in the film to make it to where it's a very... Let me put it this way: the climax, the ending of it, is very sad. It's very sad. It's a messed up ending.
When they're all grown up, he leaves. She marries this other guy. He comes back all Count of Monte Cristo style rich. Movie doesn't really explain how, but he's rich now. And now she gets to cheat on her husband with this guy that she's actually in love with. What works in the movie? The movie looks great, I will say that. The costumes are extravagant, the sets, they're huge, they're engrossing. Coming off of the new Dracula movie, in which case I was like, the costumes are big and the sets are, well, that's a green screen. This movie makes...
Because Jacob Elordi, he's actually in Frankenstein. He's in Frankenstein. And I just saw, speaking of that, also in Frankenstein is... I forgot the actor's name, but he's also in the new Dracula movie. He plays I think he's a doctor in the new Dracula movie. You should know who I'm talking about. He was in Alita Battle Angel.
Makes an actual attempt to make you feel like you are standing there. Do Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi have chemistry in the film? Well, yeah. I mean, they're good in the movie, and well, their characters are shitty people, but they do have chemistry. You don't even have to pay for a ticket to see how much chemistry they have. Just listen to her talk about Jacob Elordi in the press tour. Then just imagine the look on Margot Robbie's husband's face. The thing is, they have sexual chemistry, and this movie's... Remember in Quantum of Solace, James Bond takes a thing of motor oil and throws it to this dude and is like, walk into the desert. The dude gets so thirsty he drinks the motor oil. That dude in the desert who drank the motor oil wasn't remotely as thirsty as this entire fucking film. Not necessarily a bad thing. I know what they're going for. This film's primed, my friends. Primed to aim right to the female psyche and hit the bullseye. And bullseye it does hit. Fingers in the mouth makeouts, choking makeouts, licking the face makeouts. When he grabs her corset and lifts her to eye level, I felt it in the audience. This audience was 97% female. That's because 3% were critics. Sitting there like, hey, here to review a movie. Packed auditorium. He lifts Margot Robbie up to be eye level, and you felt it was just whoosh. Can we get some dehumidifiers in Auditorium 11, please? There were sighs, there were gasps. It's socially acceptable Pornhub for women. Though there were moments of tension in here that I did like. Some moments of humor that were in the editing that I thought were pretty clever. Movie started out... It's kind of funny the way it starts out, but it's serious. Difficult to explain. But when it started, I was like, this is actually really dark. Maybe there's something here for me. I mean, it's dark, but there's not much. Because like I said, they're shitty people. But a lot of people in this movie are shitty people. There's so many shitty people, so much pain going around. And again, I imagine that's a point in the book that the book actually does hammer home. And from what I can ascertain, the movie doesn't really follow the book at all. The reps always take a quote from us when we come out of the screening, give our 1 or 2 sentence thoughts. One of the critics was like, it was a real interesting choice to not adapt the book. So I asked him if he'd read the book. He goes, yeah, it's one of my favorites. And I guess it's different than the book. And I couldn't help it. Like when the end credits hit, I was like, no sympathy whatsoever. You reap what you sow. You made the bed, and this is the misery.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find other reviews. I'm really just trying to find other reviews to add to it. But you don't have to necessarily see the entire video. I want you to see it, but you don't have to see it. You can, as long as you can hear them talk, it's fine. So yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Why am I? It's really not good. I'm not getting a very. I'm not getting a. I'll just show it. I'm not getting a whole lot. I don't know what the fuck is going on with my thing. I don't know what's going on, honestly. Let me try it again.
That comes from being shitty. Even a light Google search, I haven't read the book, by the way. I do know that the character that Margot Robbie plays is supposed to be like 18 or 19 years old. And that's why age-appropriate casting is important. She's a gaslighter. She's emotionally manipulative. She does that emotional push-pull bullshit. The argument of, well, her father was horrible, so that's what she learned, and that's who she is, and that's the sad part. Well, I mean, I'm sure her father's father was also shitty, and that's why her father was awful. Because everyone who's shitty has a backstory that gives context as to why. But there's a difference between context and excuse, and I feel this film breaches into making an excuse that we're just supposed to accept. We're supposed to root for them and feel bad for them because they're the leads, and that's how it goes. It ceases to be enough. A couple of 18-year-olds in a toxic relationship because that's what they learned growing up from their father figure. It wouldn't be an excuse for shitty behavior, but I feel I would have better seen the tragedy of the generational trauma there. Any and all nuance has been wiped from this thing. We're supposed to accept this surface level execution. This is YA level head game nonsense with people who are clearly too old to be doing that shit. The leads in the film are the villains, and I just don't feel bad for them. I don't relate to them. I don't like them. But I could have, and I guess that's the real tragedy here. All in all, I mean, the movie has some production merit here, but I didn't connect, I didn't relate, I did not cry, I didn't even feel bad for him. And that is a problem. Anyone who gets dragged to this on Valentine's Day, peace be with you. As for me, this mess is so far up its own ass, I'm not gonna remember it in T-1 day. Yep, already forgot. Alright, so Wuthering Heights, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's an adaptation in which...
I gotta admit, I'm not getting a whole lot of, my frames are dropping. Not my frames, but it's dropping down here.
The movie completely butchered the book. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like, in which the movie completely... Heights, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's an adaptation in which the movie completely butchered the book? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
Alright, I thought the movie was... The first time I saw it, I didn't think it was bad, but I did not like the ending. I still kind of don't, but I understand it, because I was able to watch it mostly the second time with an objective opinion. The first time was just kind of like, you know, what the fuck? That's what I was thinking. So, you know, there's that.
Hey everybody, today I am going to be reviewing Wuthering Heights. This was directed by Emerald.
Once again, I'm going to be multitasking. Just to let you go ahead and just let you know I'm going to be multitasking because I have to troubleshoot why I'm not getting a whole lot of output here. It may be looking kind of blowy or low resolution on the viewer's end.
Emerald Fennell. Oh, if you have followed this channel in the past, you know that I find Miss Fennell's work as a director quite frustrating. She is talented in multiple areas, no doubt, but after her previous film Saltburn, I coined the term scrapbook cinema, so far as how I feel about her work. Obviously, her style is very modern and pastiche, but to me it feels almost more like a disjointed snapshot tour of all the cinematic references of the past, but without the cohesion that I desire. Her films are always packed to the brim with embellishments and frothy textures, but it's almost as if we are too self-aware of all of that. It's like she's adorned in so much silk and taffeta that it's like we've lost maybe the reason for what we're doing or the emotional core of the thing. Wuthering Heights, as her third feature-length film, I would say it's more ambitious than her previous two. But unfortunately, I have a lot of the same criticisms, the same problems with those two films as I do this one. It is all about aesthetic and mood. I'm sure that a lot of Pinterest boards went into the making of this film. There's just no real authentic artistry, no grand thesis, no real emotional passion that is driving the film forward. I do think it's important to note that this movie, this adaptation of Wuthering Heights, is not meant to be so classically standard as I'm sure maybe a lot of the diehard fans of the book are wanting. But no, it's almost as if with this movie, the novel has been sifted through this cultural kaleidoscope, and we're stripping back more of the thematic threads for the simplicity. We're letting the emotion, the sensory elements of the movie shine through. It's definitely going for like a pulpy reimagining of the whole thing. So again, I think you have to examine it from that angle to a degree. It reminds me a lot, this movie reminds me a lot of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, in the sense that it's very grand.
Really?
And stylistically, it has a lot going for it. This particular movie, it felt almost like a mix of like Valhalla Rising and like a romance novel cover art mixed together. And I really loved that, especially those deep, dark reds and those velvety textures. It reminded me of like giallo films, Italian films from the 1970s, horror in particular. A lot of the flourishes and artistic choices here do feel very 1970s in spirit. I kept thinking about, for example, The Beguiled, not the remake, but the original film, again from the 1970s. And I could see Clint Eastwood being like a Heathcliff type. And certainly there's a big reference to those grand studio epic films from like the 1930s, 1940s. I'm thinking of like Jane Eyre, starring Orson Welles, Rebecca, and of course Gone with the Wind is a huge reference in this. Huge. And with this movie, aesthetically, the ambition of it grows more and more. At a certain point, it felt like we were in some like sugar plum fairyland that was like adorned in sparkles and tinsel, and I'm not sure exactly how that sat with me taste-wise. In theory, all of this could be wicked fun. It's almost like Andy Warhol does the Victorian era, something like that. But again, I just feel like there's nothing that's really compelling at the root of this. It's not risky enough, it's not bold enough. And because we've thinned out so much of what makes the characters interesting and their dilemmas complex, the whole thing starts to feel boring and repetitive and even exhausting by the end of it. And not in like a stirring way, but in a way where it's like, get me out of here. There's a lot of shots of like veils, material blowing in the wind. There's lots of shots of like riding very intently on horseback on the horizon. Lots of montages that to me look like they were more designed to appeal to like TikTok reels and things of that nature instead of cinema. Every time Margot Robbie walks through a door in this movie as Catherine, she has a new exquisite gown on, very Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. But again, because this piece is so caught up in the smoke and mirrors of everything, it lacks the juicy, meaty tensions of a film like Gone with the Wind.
Juicy.
To me, it felt more like Barbie does Scarlett O'Hara, Barbie does Gone with the Wind, and the Ken doll, Jacob Elordi over here as Heathcliff, sold separately. I don't know, when I think of Wuthering Heights, I think of longing, I think of like a deep ache of wanting something so badly, but you can't have it. And what is unspoken, what you don't see, I think that becomes maybe the crux of the tension. But with this movie, again, because we're going more for the surface level, and we want to make sex such a huge part of the tension here in a blatant sense, then I think you really need to go for it. Go ahead and make the movie sexy and fun and dirty, all those things, not whatever this watered down Disney version of sex is supposed to be here. Thematically, I thought the sexual aspects of the film felt more intact in the beginning of the movie, especially in the opening scene, because you get the sense of the idea of sex with mixed with violence and how that ties into status and wealth, class, of course, but we don't probe any of that, and so it just kind of exists awkwardly in the movie, at least for me. There are a lot of very on-the-nose sexual innuendos in this movie, and, everything from, like, egg yolk representing, like, the bodily fluids, that sort of thing. But rarely is it ever shocking or grotesque in an exciting way or in a devious way, and a lot of the humor isn't particularly clever. If you're gonna go blatant, I think it's gotta be funny, and it fell flat for me. There are so many more creative ways of expressing romantic tension, I think, and we've seen it done many times in the past. I feel like a movie like this, in the right hands, with proper guidance of the characters, it really could have broken my heart. I could have been crying at the end of this movie, but unfortunately, I felt nothing, because it feels like shells of characters that have, again, been watered down and bastardized to such a degree that it's kind of unrecognizable to us and pointless. It's like Fennell is not interested in these characters at all as people, and I swear, she is the type of woman who would go straight into battle, but accompanied with her Chanel bag. I've described her as somebody who's overcompensating for maybe a lack of depth in her work, but I don't think, at least so far with her third feature, it looks like she's not interested in taking any of those criticisms seriously. Now, obviously, it's up to her to do that, but it is frustrating, yet again, because I just don't think that drowning in breathy, lacy, very diamond-drenched aesthetics is necessarily the answer to her problems here. And unfortunately, there's nothing really punk rock or edgy that is driving her either. No real rebellion at the heart of it. This movie kind of reminded me, obviously it is beautiful to look at, and if you love costume design, art direction, that sort of thing, then sure, I might give it a watch, but I just don't think that women are really going to get into this movie, and I certainly don't see men wanting to tolerate it either. It's long and meandering. I say skip it. There are so many more sexy romantic movies that you could watch this Valentine's Day. But yes, that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is Deep Folk. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits, and I also sell prints. In you can always go to the website below. And if you have a question about a commission or
thanks, thank you. That's all we need. I disagree with her. It did get a little weird, but I disagree with her.
Wuthering Heights.
Aww. Look at that
Wuthering.
beautiful poster there.
Tell me the story of Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights. Well, This takes place long ago. I can't tell you when. Margot Robbie is Catherine, and Jacob Elordi is Heathcliff. And
I'll tell you when. I kind of do my review at the same time they're doing it. I always forget to tell the director. I remember the actors' names. At least I got those. Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. That's not what I meant to do. But it takes place. I'm going by the film, not by the book. If you're curious, the book was first published in 1847. This is, of course, according to Wikipedia. Plot: in 1801, Mr. Lockwood, new tenant of blah blah blah, visit his landlord, Heathcliff, at his remote farmhouse, Wuthering Heights. There he meets a reserved young woman, Kathy, Joseph ill-tempered servant, and an educated young man who speaks like a servant. Everyone is sullen and inhospitable. What does sullen mean? That's what happens when you start reading. Slow internet. Moody, grumpy, resentful person who is slightly unhappy, refusing to be social. Okay. A little interesting to read. Who's Headley again? Oh, okay, let's go about the actual plot of the movie. A man is publicly hanged or suffering, and visible erections send spectators, including Catherine Shaw and her paid companion Nellie Dean. A landlord the landlord, the lord's illegitimate daughter into an ecstatic frenzy. That's his father. Blackie Ward. Who's a Ward? Okay, anyway, let's get back to reviews.
Kathy lives with her father, a lord who owns a mansion of sorts, but is not making much money. So he's squandering his wealth. Let's put it that way. At one point, the father is asked to take in a boy who has been abandoned, and he says yes. Takes him in, and as children, Catherine and Heathcliff are look, it's a Brady Bunch situation. They're kind of brother and sister, but ultimately they fall in love. And as her father's
because they're not biologically related.
financial position weakens more and more, next door to them is a duke or something, Edgar, who moves next door. He is rich. She courts him a bit, and they wind up getting married. But Heathcliff is in love, and before she accepts the engagement, she has to make the decision: do I marry the Edgar for money, or do I marry Heathcliff for love? She chooses money and realizes immediately that she made the wrong choice. But Heathcliff overheard that. Heartbroken, he runs off, and so now they're two split. And she gets married and lives a good life. But then Heathcliff, who is a poor little boy, comes back with money, and now the choice has to be made. Do I ditch my husband for Heathcliff, or do I continue to go the way things are? And I should mention this is written and directed by Emerald Fennell.
Emerald Fennell, who did that movie that I despised called Saltburn.
Yeah. But she also did Promising Young Women.
Promising Young Woman, Saltburn, and now Wuthering Heights. This movie, by the way, I'm surprised you didn't point out that this movie is very diverse. There's a consequential role, Nellie, played by